Usually when we talk about a blueprint, we picture something like a construction site.
Right, like building a tall office building or, a new house.
Exactly. We picture hard hats and strict measurements, perfectly straight lines.
Yeah, very rigid.
Right. You build a strong wall over here, you put a heavy door right there. It is a very strict, rigid process. I mean, there is really no room for feelings or stories when you are mixing concrete.
No, definitely not. And, well, that rigid structure is exactly what makes most learning materials so difficult to use.
Oh, how do you mean?
Well, traditional textbooks are kind of built like those what's walls. They just give you long lists of rules to memorize.
Right, just cold facts.
Exactly, but they forget that there is a human being reading those rules.
Yeah, that is so true. But today, we are looking at a very different kind of blueprint. Welcome to today's deep dive.
We are so glad you were joining us.
Today, we are exploring the secret rules for building the perfect language learning audio show. The document we have today is a special guide. It is a blueprint for a show called English Everyday Stories.
And this blueprint does not build walls. It builds confidence. It builds true fluency.
It really is a fascinating document.
It truly is. It takes everything we know about how the human brain actually learns,
Right.
and it turns that science into an everyday habit.
Right.
And even if you're not trying to learn a new language right now, this document shows us the best way to master any new skill.
Yes, exactly. And because this blueprint is designed to help people learn English, well, we are going to do something a little special for you today.
That is right.
We are going to speak very slowly. We will use simple, clear words, but we will still explore very deep and important ideas.
We want you to follow along easily.
Right. We will take our time and really understand the hidden science of communication.
And, that slow and steady pace is actually the best way to process new information.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It gives your mind the space it needs to actually absorb the ideas rather than, just rushing past them.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so let's unpack this. The deep dive begins by focusing on the teachers of English Everyday Stories.
Right, the hosts.
Yes, but the blueprint gives a very strict warning right at the start. These people must never sound like traditional teachers.
No, not at all.
They are called hosts, and they are absolutely not robots reading from a piece of paper. They are two friendly hosts named Alex and Emma.
And the document is incredibly detailed about who Alex and Emma are as people.
Yeah, it really is.
For example, Alex is described as calm, maybe a little bit funny, and deeply curious about the world.
Okay, and Emma?
Emma is energetic, she is warm, and always encouraging the listener. They have very different personalities.
Which creates a natural human balance.
Exactly. It feels real.
And the blueprint also says there should be absolutely zero textbook feeling.
Right. None of that rigid structure.
Yeah. The rules state that Alex and Emma must sound like real friends sitting in a coffee shop.
They have to interrupt each other sometimes.
Yes. Just like we are doing. They must laugh at silly jokes. They need to share short personal stories.
And they must show real human emotion in their voices.
Which is so different from a normal English class.
It is. And think about the science behind that choice. When you listen to two real friends talking naturally, when you hear unscripted, everyday American English, your brain actually changes the way it behaves.
Wait, really? Are you saying that hearing a friendly voice physically changes the brain?
It does. It actually changes the chemicals in your mind.
Wow, okay. How does that work?
Well, if you are stressed, like when you are taking a difficult test in a quiet room, your brain releases a chemical called cortisol.
Cortisol, okay.
Right. And cortisol acts like a heavy door closing inside your memory. It blocks new information from coming in.
So stress literally stops you from learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you hear people laughing or when you feel relaxed with friends, your brain releases a different chemical, dopamine.
Ah, dopamine, the happy chemical.
Yes. And dopamine is like a chemical glue.
Chemical glue. I really like that image. So the joy and the laughter actually stick the new words into your memory.
Precisely. If you smile or laugh when you hear a new vocabulary word, you are much more likely to remember that word tomorrow.
Because the emotion makes the memory permanent.
Exactly right.
That makes me think about learning how to cook a complicated meal.
Oh, that's a good example.
Yeah, like if you try to learn by just reading a thick, boring cookbook alone in your room, it feels like a terrible chore.
It is just work.
Right. Step 1, boil the water. Step 2, chop the onions. It is completely dry. You will probably forget the recipe the next day.
Because there's no emotional connection to the steps.
Uh-huh.
You were just processing raw data.
Exactly. But imagine learning to cook in a warm kitchen with your two best friends.
Much better.
Right. You are listening to music, you make a small mistake and add too much salt, and everyone just laughs about it.
Yeah, no pressure.
Someone tells a funny story while they chop the carrots. The entire experience is just full of life.
And that changes how you remember it.
Yes. Later, when you try to make the meal again by yourself, you will remember the recipe. You remember it because you remember the feeling of that night in the kitchen.
That is the perfect way to understand this blueprint. Alex and Emma are the friends in the kitchen.
They make you feel safe.
Yes, they make the listener feel safe. But being friendly is only the first part of the plan.
Right, because just talking is not enough.
Exactly. A friendly conversation can easily wander off topic. To actually teach a skill, these friendly hosts need a very solid structure hidden underneath the casual talk.
And the blueprint demands a very specific, careful structure.
It does.
It requires every single lesson to be exactly between 25 and 30 minutes long.
In writing, that is about 3,500 to 4,500 words.
Right. And it is broken down into very clear steps.
So how do they begin the actual lesson? Because, the first few minutes are crucial for setting the tone.
Well, they start with part 1 and part 2. The document calls these the warm welcome and the icebreaker.
Okay, an icebreaker.
Yeah. And this section is only 2 to 3 minutes long. It is just casual, everyday chat. They do not start teaching grammar or vocabulary right away.
What do they talk about then?
They might talk about the rainy weather outside. They might talk about their morning coffee or, a funny mistake they made over the weekend.
Ah, I see. They are signaling to the listener's brain that there's no danger here.
Lowering the stress.
Right. By talking about universal, simple things like the weather or coffee, they lower the listener's defensive shield. They are proving that this is a safe space to learn.
That is so smart. So once the listener is relaxed, the lesson moves to part 3, the vocabulary preview.
This is where they actually start teaching.
Yes, this is where Alex and Emma finally teach them new words. But the strict rule for this section really surprised me.
What is the rule?
The blueprint says they must teach exactly 3 useful words.
Just 3.
Just 3, not 10, not 20, only 3 words for the entire 30-minute lesson.
I know that sounds like a very small number for a language student who wants to learn quickly.
It really does. I mean, if someone wants to become fluent, shouldn't they try to memorize a long list of vocabulary every day?
That is what most people think.
Right. It seems like they are just wasting time by only focusing on 3 tiny words.
Actually, the blueprint is protecting the student from a very common problem, cognitive fatigue.
Yeah.
Or, brain tiredness.
Brain tiredness. Okay, what does that mean?
Well, when you give the brain too much new information at one time, it gets tired. It simply stops working.
It just shuts down.
Yeah. It deletes the extra information to protect itself.
Oh, wow. So quality is much more important than quantity.
Completely. Think of it this way. Imagine you move to a brand new city where you do not know anyone.
Okay, I am in a new city.
What is more helpful? Shaking hands with 20 strangers and collecting 20 business cards, or spending a few hours having a deep, meaningful dinner with 3 new friends?
Oh, I see. If my car breaks down in the new city, those 20 strangers are not going to help me.
Right, you barely know them.
Exactly. But those 3 deep friends, I can call them for help. They are useful to me.
That is a wonderful comparison. A list of 20 memorized words is like a stack of business cards.
You recognize the names, but that is it.
Yeah. You might recognize them, but you do not really know how to use them when you are in trouble. But if you deeply understand 3 words, they become your friends.
You can use them confidently in real life.
Exactly.
And the blueprint ensures you really get to know these 3 words.
How so?
Well, for every single word, Alex and Emma must give the direct meaning. Then they provide a simple, slow explanation.
Breaking it down.
Right. Next, they give 2 fresh, real-world examples of how to use it. And finally, they have a mini discussion about the word, sharing opinions or feelings about it.
So you truly experience the word from every angle.
Yes, exactly.
And once the brain understands those 3 words deeply, it is ready for the real challenge.
And here's where it gets really interesting. After the brain is warmed up, the document moves to the core of the lesson, part 4, the main story.
This is where that emotional glue we talked about is applied.
Yes. The rules for this story are very strict. It must be completely original, and it must feel like a scene from a popular movie or TV show.
Like a Netflix scene.
Exactly. It needs emotion, a little bit of humor, small real-world problems, and natural conversation.
What are some examples of the stories the document suggests?
Oh, the examples are so specific, like losing a passport while traveling in another country.
Oh, that is terrible.
Or a surprise job interview that you were not prepared for. Missing the last train of the night. Moving into a strange new apartment where the electricity doesn't work.
Wow.
Or having a serious misunderstanding with a waiter in a busy restaurant.
Do you notice the pattern in all of those situations?
Yeah, they're all slightly stressful.
Exactly.
I mean, losing your passport in a foreign country is a total nightmare. Missing the last train is incredibly stressful.
It is.
At first, I thought this was a mistake. If we want the brain to be relaxed to learn, why are we telling stories about panicking in a train station?
It is actually a brilliant strategy. We want the environment of the lesson to be safe and relaxed, but we want the story to have mild stress.
Mild stress.
Yeah, we want the story to release a tiny bit of adrenaline in the listener.
Adrenaline, like the feeling you get when you watch an exciting action movie.
Yes, exactly. When a story is slightly stressful and highly relatable, it tells the primitive part of your brain, pay attention. This is important for our survival.
Oh, wow.
If you are listening to a boring story about a red apple, your brain just goes to sleep.
Ray, who cares about a red apple?
Exactly. But if the character in the story is running through a train station, sweating, looking at the clock, and the doors suddenly close, you feel their panic.
You feel their frustration when they watch the train pull away.
And in that exact moment of frustration, the character uses one of those 3 vocabulary words you just learned.
I see.
Because your emotions are high, that word locks into your memory forever. You are learning the language of survival.
You are learning the exact words you need to solve real problems in the real world.
Exactly.
That makes complete sense. You connect the new word to a powerful feeling.
Okay, so we have a warm welcome, 3 deeply explained words, and a very exciting, stressful story.
Right.
But, listening is still a passive activity. You are just receiving information. How does this blueprint turn the listener from a passive audience member into an active participant?
That is the transition from understanding to true fluency. The mouth has to get involved.
The mouth. And that brings us to the practice section, parts 5 through 8 of the blueprint.
Okay, let's break those down.
Part 5 is called the English breakdown. This is where Alex and Emma stop the story and explain the tricky parts.
Like idioms. Yes, they explain idioms. They explain phrasal verbs, those confusing little combinations of words that native speakers use all the time.
Like give up or run out.
Exactly. They also focus on the native speaking habits.
Right, because real people do not speak like perfectly programmed computers.
No, we definitely do not.
We blend words together, we drop letters, we make sounds that are not in the dictionary.
Yes, the hosts explain how the words actually sound in the messy, real world. Then we move to part 6. The listening challenge.
What happens there?
The hosts ask 3 specific questions about the story, but there is a mandatory rule here. The audio must pause. There must be empty silence on the track.
And that silence is not an accident. That silence is a tool.
Right. The audio pauses for several seconds so the listener can think and try to answer. After the silence, the hosts come back and explain the correct answers.
It gives the brain time to process.
Exactly. Next is part 7, the speaking practice. The hosts select 5 useful sentences from the story.
Okay, 5 sentences.
They say the sentence slowly, they explain the difficult pronunciation, and then they ask the listener to repeat the sentence out loud.
Speaking out loud is the most important instruction in the entire document.
But I have to admit, I struggle with this idea a little bit.
Really? Why?
Do adult learners actually speak out loud to an audio recording?
Well, yes, they should.
But imagine a student sitting alone in their kitchen. Or imagine someone sitting on a busy bus with their headphones on. Do they really talk out loud to a pre-recorded voice?
I know, it might feel a little silly or embarrassing at first. But speaking out loud is the bridge between knowing a language and speaking a language.
The bridge? How so?
Well, think about the physical body. Your mouth is a machine made of muscles. Your tongue, your lips, your jaw.
Right, lots of muscles.
When you learn a new language, you are asking those muscles to move in ways they have never moved before.
That makes sense.
Your brain might perfectly understand the vocabulary word, but your mouth muscles simply do not know the physical dance steps yet.
Ah, I get it. It is like learning to play the piano.
It's exactly.
You can look at the sheet music. Your brain understands the notes perfectly. But if your fingers have never touched the keys, you cannot play the song. You have to physically practice the movement.
That is a brilliant way to explain it. Speaking out loud builds physical muscle memory.
The mouth muscles.
Yes. And those silent pauses built into the audio track, they are creating a safe space for the listener.
A safe space where no one is judging them.
Exactly. When the audio pauses, it is your turn to play the piano. You can try the sentence. You will probably make a mistake. Your tongue might twist. But you can try again.
Because there's no teacher grading you.
Right. There is no stranger laughing at you. This private practice builds the confidence you need to speak in public later.
You have to build the muscle memory in private so you can use it in the real world. That is powerful.
It really is.
And finally, the lesson ends with part 8, the final motivation. This is where Alex and Emma wrap up the show.
What do they say?
They encourage the listener, and the blueprint gives them a specific, powerful message they must share. They must remind the listener that fluency comes from consistency, not perfection.
Oh, wow. Fluency comes from consistency, not perfection. That phrase should be printed and placed on the wall of every classroom in the world.
It really changes how you look at the learning journey, doesn't it?
It does.
Fluency means being able to communicate your ideas smoothly, even if you make small errors. Consistency means showing up every single day, doing the 10 minutes of practice, even when you feel tired.
And perfection. Perfection is the enemy of progress.
It really is. Perfectionism is what happens when someone tries to study grammar rules for 5 hours on a Sunday, and it is so exhausting that they do not study again for a whole month.
Right. They are terrified of making a mistake, so they do nothing at all.
Exactly.
Perfection is a heavy wall that stops you from moving forward. Consistency is the daily habit that opens the door.
Beautifully said. The hosts remind the listener of this truth, invite them to return for the next lesson, and say a warm goodbye.
That is a great way to end.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? Let's summarize the main lessons from this fascinating document.
Okay, let's review.
If you want to design a great learning experience for yourself or for someone else, what are the required steps? First, you need a warm, friendly welcome.
Right. You must prove to the brain that it is safe to relax and absorb new things.
Second, you must respect cognitive limits.
Brain tiredness. Do not give the brain too much to carry. Focus on a very small amount of new information like 3 useful words and explore them deeply until they feel like old friends.
Third, you need a highly engaging, slightly stressful story.
You need a story with real-world problems like missing a train so that you can attach the new information to a strong human emotion.
And finally, you must turn passive listening into active physical practice.
You have to use your muscles out loud in a safe, quiet space where mistakes are celebrated, not punished.
Whether you are trying to learn English or learning a new software program at your office or trying to play the guitar, the lesson here is universal.
It applies to everything.
Learning happens best when we feel connected to others, when we care about the story, and when we show up every single day.
It is deeply human. We learn through stories, we learn through small failures, and we learn by simply trying again.
We started today by talking about a blueprint for a building.
Right, the rigid walls.
Yes, a building requires perfection. If you make a mistake with the concrete, the building falls down.
That is true.
But this blueprint, this guide for English everyday stories, is designed differently. It is a blueprint built entirely for mistakes.
It expects you to make them.
Yes, it is designed to give you the space to try, to laugh, to sound a little silly, and to grow.
It does not build a rigid house. It creates a comfortable home for your mind to expand.
It really does. And I want to leave you with one final thought today, a question for you to carefully think about after we say goodbye.
Okay, what is the question?
The blueprint says, fluency comes from consistency, not perfection. I want you to think about a new skill you are trying to master right now in your own life. Are you letting the fear of not being perfect stop you from being consistent?
That is a wonderful question to carry with you for the rest of the day.
Remember, perfection is an impossible wall. Consistency is an open door.
Keep showing up.
Yes, keep showing up. Keep practicing out loud. Thank you so much for joining us on today's Deep Dive.
We hope you discovered something valuable today.
We will be right here waiting to explore with you next time. Have a wonderful day.